So now let's take the questions. So I got multiple questions. First question is from ureter tracing. Wait. Dr. Nighat. Dr. Nighat is posting a question that if there are there are two cysts in kidney and the age is 60 years of age, what will be the diagnosis? Now, this thing have been taken in detail in our course, that how many cysts should be there to label it as a adult polycystic kidney. So let me go to the class PPT. I'm again repeating, this is not a course over here. This is question and answer session for those who have already taken classes or who are taking classes with us. This is a doubt clearance session, and don't expect that you will get a course over here. This is not a course. Course is from different platform. Course we are taking from server. Now let us go to this question. Now this is the thing. Adult polycystic kidney, Dr. Nighat and others, pay attention. You should be very clear that how many cysts are there. If there are two cysts and the age is up to 30 years, and the age is up to 30 years, if there are 4 cysts, if there are 4 cysts and the age is from 30 to 60 years, then you can label it as adult dominant polycystic kidney. And if there are 8 cysts, then the age should be more than 60 years. So what I will request you, to go back to the course and see over here, and you can label it adult polycystic kidney. In case you are having, I am repeating, 2 cysts, this is already discussed in class. I request you to go back to the class and clear the concept over here. Anyhow, the answer is 2 cysts up to 30 years, 4 cysts 30 to 60 years, 8 cysts more than 60 years of age. Then you can label it as adult polycystic kidney. So rest the things are discussed, how to differentiate an AD PCKD from a multicystic kidney. This is already discussed. So this was the answer in brief to Dr. Nighat. Now let me go to the next question. So next question, how to trace a ureter. We are having multiple practical videos in our courses, and we are having about 4 to 5 practical classes of how to trace the ureter. Now I will show you on a patient, which we are showing you in your course how to scan. We are showing you in the course how to scan a patient. I will take one class video from the course and I will show you. I think that that person whosoever is posting this question, how to scan a ureter, have not completed the KUB course first. I am requesting time and again to post questions from the topic which you have already completed. And if you are somewhere in the midway, or even you have not touched the course and you are posting a question, maybe that your answer will be already over there. So anyhow, the question has been posted. I have to give a short reply. This is the thing, how we are scanning the ureter. Now over here, the probe has been put in a longitudinal section. Now see, in a longitudinal section. Why in a longitudinal section? Over now see, the probe has been put in a longitudinal section. I will be expecting here the kidney to come here first. I don't know whether this patient is having a hydronephrosis or not. So I will scan the kidney first. Now see how it is getting scanned. Now when I am putting a probe over here, what the point is that I have to do minute tiltings in the probe. I will not keep my probe static. No. If I will keep my probe static over here, I will get a picture, but I will not get a dynamic process. That is ultrasound. Ultrasound is not a photograph, it is a dynamic real-time scanning. So I have to scan in all planes. Over here, what I am seeing a hydronephrosis first. Now, if I see hydronephrosis, I will expect an obstruction over there. Now, see over here. Now I will see whether there is a hydroureter or not. How to keep the patient? First, scan from the spine position. Then you may need to tilt a patient. Most important is whether I need to ask the patient to breathe in and hold or not. That depends on where the calculus is. Sometimes I may need the patient's abdomen to get up. I mean, deep inspiration, sometimes moderate inspiration, sometimes relaxed. It depends on where the calculus is. So I will try with deep inspiration, moderate, and then in a relaxed phase. Now, as I am moving up, I am seeing the hydronephrosis over here. Then I will try to see if there is a hydroureter over here. I will trace the ureter from the renal pelvis. This is very important. Now here I am seeing the renal pelvis over here. I will now see I am doing tiltings so that I will see whether this structure is going in length, and if it is going in length, then it is hydroureter. Now see, the ureter has come up over here. I will not leave this. If you will leave this, you will lose this. Now see, if you will leave this, you will lose this. This is the ureter. This is the ureter over here. Now see the ureter. Then I am moving down to see up to which point it is dilated. Right now, I will not show you calculus. I will show you how to scan a ureter. So without leaving. So the technique is without leaving the ureter, trace it. Now see, trace it. Now see, very minute, delicate fannings of the probe. Sometimes I have to hold the probe with my two hands. Now see, with my two hands, so that I will not miss the ureter. You miss the ureter, you lose the ureter. So this is the rule over here. You miss the ureter, you will lose this. So try not to miss the ureter and trace it from the kidney. Then move down, and see whether it is going up to the lowermost part or not. What I mean by lowermost, up to the bladder. So what I will do, I will scan from the kidney. I will see whether it is dilated up to the mid-ureter. Mid-ureter is a bit difficult because there are a lot of gases over here. Now see, a lot of gases are there. So mid-ureter is a bit difficult to scan. Upper and lower are not difficult. Now see how the probe is and how we are tilting the probe so that I will get this thing on in my center of the screen, and don't attempt to lose this. If you will lose the ureter, you will lose this. So you will not get it back. Then you have to move back to the kidney. Then you have to trace it from the renal pelvis again. Now, one more important tip is that maybe that this is some vessel also. Why not? If you are scanning over here, maybe that you are hitting a vessel, maybe a renal vessel or any other vessel. Put your color in action to confirm whether I am dealing with a vessel or a ureter. Simple ureter will not take color, whereas the vessel will take color. So if a so-called ureter in inverted commas is taking a color, it is not ureter. So you are tracing a wrong thing. So now see, this is how they now see, holding the probe with two hands so that I will not miss it. So tracing it down and from the bladder, also from the bladder. Why? Because if I am having a distal most ureter dilated at the distal end, it means that I have to search calculus more distally. Distal ureter, you know how to scan. This is the part of our course which is discussed in the course. So this is the urinary bladder over here. Now see, this is the gain which is overgained here. I will try to decrease the gain over here. Then I will try to search it. So the point is, you have to scan from the kidney. Don't lose the ureter from the pelvis. If you lose this, you will not get the ureter. Then go to the bladder also, and if the calculus is at the level of the bladder and the bladder is dilated, then why to scan the mid-ureter? Because I have already done. My calculus is somewhere in the distal part. So now one more important tip is that the ureter calculus, I will show you second patient also. The ureter calculus, especially the lower ureter calculus, are showing a twinkle artifact. Just to confirm whether I am dealing with a calculus or not. And these are seen even in a small ureteric calculus. So put your color onto a calculus in inverted commas. If it is a calculus, it should show you not 100%, 99%, it will show you a twinkle artifact. So if now it is like the right portal vein which is leading to the gallbladder, this twinkle artifact. And if you will put a color box, and if you got the twinkle artifact, Jyoti, come here. If you got a twinkle artifact, you can trace from that twinkle artifact and it will lead you to the ureteric calculus. So now see over here. The probe has been put onto the urinary bladder, angling towards this side. And what is over here? This is the calculus over here. Now, why I will bother about the mid-ureteric calculus over here? Because I am seeing a lower ureteric dilatation over here. If I see a lower ureter dilated, I will expect a calculus which is in the distal part. Now see over here. This is the calculus over here. I can even see the shadow which is coming over here. This is not a very big calculus. This is maybe a 4 or a max of 6 millimeters calculus. So keeping the machine settings in your mind, what you have to do, you have to, these things are discussed with you. You have to get your focal zone. You have to adjust the machine as per your requirement. I will not discuss it over here because that is a part and parcel of physics and machine settings. So I will show you how to put the color onto this small calculus and how the twinkle artifact is looking like. Now see, I am measuring this. I told you it is not more than 6. Now see, it over here is 5.1. It is 5.1 only. So why this is clear? Because I have done with the machine settings. And what are the machine settings? That is in our physics and machine settings. Now the point is, I will put the color. Now see the color. I will put the color onto this calculus, and if it shows a twinkle artifact, it is confirming. We now see this is the twinkle artifact. Very beautiful twinkle artifact coming from the stone. Now see, this is the twinkle artifact which is coming from the stone. This thing. So it will follow the shadow of the calculus. It will be overlapping rather onto the shadow. It will be like a color shadow onto a calculus. Now see again, very beautiful twinkle artifact. So this way you can confirm whether you are dealing with a calculus or maybe some calcification at any point of time. You can confuse whether this is a calculus or not. So this is an add-on point, this twinkle artifact to confirm the ureteric calculus. So this is how we are scanning the ureters, and this is how we are diagnosing these ureteric calculi. So let's take the third question. So the third question posted by Dr. Ritu. I am summing up the question. It is a very long question, but the moral of the question is that how to calculate a volume of anything. in the classes, you were told that volume has to be calculated in 3 measurements. So I need 3 measurements for volume calculation. So if anybody will actively participate with me, please raise the hand, not the physical hand, but the digital hand. You know what the digital hand is. In the more option, you have to click on the more option, that is the 3 dots over there. Then a pop-up will appear of the raise hand. Once you will raise the hand, we will unmute your system and we will get connected by audio also to each other. But the most important point is your background noise should not be there. So you can raise the hand. So meanwhile, how to take a volume? In volume, what I am taking 3 measurements. One is the depth, one is the width, and one is the length. Now the length of anything can be taken in a longitudinal section only. This all is in our courses. I think that that person has not yet completed the course. Again, I am requesting, please complete the subtopic. For example, this is in the physics and machine settings. Yes, this is, because basic physics and machine settings we are taking in physics and machine settings. So anyhow, in length, the length can be taken in the longitudinal section, but the width and the depth cannot be taken, both cannot be taken in the longitudinal section. I have to take the transverse section also. So the 3 measurements can be taken in 2 sections, one longitudinal, one transverse section. And in this longitudinal section, what I have to do, I have to take the longitudinal, I have to take the length of the organ, and transverse section and width and the depth can be taken in the transverse section, but depth can be taken in transverse as well as in longitudinal section. So the moral of the story is that you have to have 2 scan planes, one transverse, one longitudinal. Then you have to give 3 measurements to machine, then only whatever will come is the accurate volume. But if you will give all 3 measurements in a wrong plane, machine will take as if you are in right plane, because machine is born blind. You have to put your eyes and your brain also in the machine, then only it will work. So then the volume, whatever the machine will show you, will be wrong. So see what you are giving to machine. You are giving a command to machine. Machine is like a robot. Machine is following your command. Whether your command is right or wrong, that you have to decide. So this is how we are taking the volumes. For volumes, I have to have 2 scan sections, one transverse and one longitudinal. Then I have to take the length from the longitudinal, and from transverse I can take 2 measurements. One is the depth and another is the width. How to take that is already discussed in the class. Dr. Ritu again posting the question. I'm summing up the question now. HR heart rate, fetal heart rate calculation, whether I have to take it on alternate basis or I have to take it continuously. It depends on the machine. In most of the G machines, I am taking it on alternate basis. But we do have some companies like the Philips, not all models of Philips we are taking without skipping, not on alternate basis. So you have to see which machine you are using, and accordingly it will be decided by the machine whether that machine is programmed for alternate waves or not. But most of the G machines, if not all, I have not seen till date single machine of G which is not calculating on alternate basis. Almost all which I have seen, I have gone through the machines of the G which I know, they are calculating it on alternate basis. In case of any confusion, you have to check the software of your machine. Now you are not a software engineer, you simply can go you can talk to the software engineer of the company, and he knows whether it is this way or that way. But in about a 99, if not 100% of G machines, we are taking it on alternate basis. Again, Dr. Ritu is posting, there are two markers in the transvaginal probe. Please elaborate. There is a confusion. No, there is only one marker. There is only one marker in the TVS probe, and we have discussed that probe, that marker should be towards the ceiling. Let me show you the TVS probe. Now this is the TVS probe. Jyoti, you set it here. Now this is the TVS probe over here. This I have to show. Now I am having this elevation over here, this elevation. Now see to the elevation, this elevation, this thing, this is the marker. How can you say there are two markers? If you will show me even a single probe from anywhere, from any corner of the world, be it a G, be it a Toshiba, be it a Philips, be it any Hitachi, Mitachi, any model, any company, I will give you $1 billion. I will give you $1 billion. On records, I am saying, yes, $1 billion. Because there is only one marker. How there can be two markers? Now, this is the marker of the probe. This is the marker of the probe. This marker can be an elevation, can be an indicator, can be a light over there, anything, but it has to be only one. Now see, and where to put it, you know better. Why you know better? Because we have taken this thing in the gynae course. Now this is not the physics and machine setting. This is in our gynae, in which we are including the infertility, and recently we have added the folliculometry in our gynae course also. So there is only one marker, and that marker I will give you a very brief. This marker has to be towards the ceiling when I am in longitudinal section, and once I rotate this marker has to go toward the patient's right, this way, so that this piezoelectric crystal will cut in a transverse way. This all is discussed in about 3 classes in gynae and obs course. Okay, next question. Dr. Kavya, right? Dr. Kavya is posting the question, chorionicity and amnioticity in early pregnancy, how we can take it, and what about the vanishing twin? Madam, you have now completed the early pregnancy course only. You have not completed yet the fetal course. There is a sub course which is called as, that is a very detailed course, detailed fetal ultrasound. That is the heading of that course. In that course, we are having about 8, if not more, classes of multiple pregnancy, and there we discuss these chorionicity and amnioticity. So I am requesting you to first complete the early pregnancy, then when you will your fetal ultrasound will get started, you will get detailed classes of this chorionicity and amnioticity. And second question from same Dr. Kavya is that in level first, what chromosomal or congenital abnormalities we are seeing? What we are seeing in level second, we have to see 3 things. Now, I think that that person has not yet completed the early pregnancy. That Dr. Kavya is yet to complete the early pregnancy, because in early pregnancy, the last 2 classes are for level 1. So now I will sum up what we are seeing in level 1, but I will request you to complete the course first. So without completing, how can you pose the question? Now in level 1, what we are seeing, the knuckle translucency, what we are seeing is the nasal bone, and what we are seeing is the ductus venosus. These are the 3 elements of the level first. How to take that? That is the part and parcel of the course, which will take about 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours. Yes. So in level 1, we are taking the nasal bone for Down syndrome, for this nasal knuckle translucency, how to measure it. That is a part and parcel of the course. Hysterosalpingography by Dr. Bharti. Dr. Bharti. Probably you have taken recently a course with us, and that was a folliculometry course. And if you have taken that, then only the things are coming in your mind how to take a sonosalpingography. Now, what actually, let me check if I am having more questions. No. So what actually the so this will be the last question. What actually the sonosalpingography is? This is also known as Sion's test, S-I-O-N, Sion test. Wait, Sion. This is also known as the Sion test, and this is the procedure which is primarily evaluation of the fallopian tubes, the patency of the fallopian tube. And how we are taking this, what we are doing under ultrasound scanning, a slow and deliberate injection of about 200 milliliters of physiological saline. We are inserting into the uterine cavity via Foley's catheter. Then what we are seeing, by visualizing the flow of the saline, using the tube and observing it through the tube, along the tube, through the tube, and observing it in a slow motion at the fimbria ends. And in case there will be the pull up of the fluid in the pouch of Douglas, it means that the fluid is actually going from the tubes into the peritoneal to the POD. So this way we are conducting these sonosalpingography. So sonosalpingography, but we prefer the hysterosalpingography, the X-ray one, not the sono one, because in India we don't have much of contrasts. If you will use a contrast medium rather than this saline, that will be more easily picked by ultrasound than the saline. So this way we are taking these sonosalpingographies. Yes, too. So this was all for now. So I hope that, so these are our WhatsApp groups. These are the groups where the people are posting. Why I'm seeing over here, these are the groups where the people are posting these questions over here, and then I'm taking it from there. You can even post the question into the comment box, which is over here. So I'll be waiting for some 10-20 seconds. If you have any question, you can post in the comment sections now. Yes. Yeah, Dr. Kavya, you have some question?
Yes, sir. In the transventricular plane, when we measure the ventricles, how do we find out which is the right ventricle and left ventricle when we need to say that the lateral ventricles are dilated?
Very good. Very good. So I got your question. Maybe that everybody has not understood your question. What Dr. Kavya is stating, that in case of a transventricular section, I mean the axial section, BPD plane, I am seeing two ventricles, two lateral ventricles, first one and second one, right one and left one. But the question is how to label which one is right, which one is left. Is that your question, Dr. Kavya?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now see. This is very interesting question. Now you have to understand the head has been cut in an axial section. You are seeing only head. You are not seeing the body. You are not seeing the heart, which side which is. You are seeing the head, and the right and the left side is very, very difficult to see on a I mean on the axial plane. In axial planes, it is very difficult to say whether this is right or this is left ventricle. But Dr. Kavya,
Yes, sir.
how many years of experience you are having?
So 7 years, sir.
7 years. Now there is a trick. If I will take a coronal section, are you getting my point? What is coronal section?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now see to my head. If I will take a coronal section, automatically I am seeing the
Whole body.
abdomen also, or at least the heart. Now, once I take the coronal section, and I will see which side the heart is on coronal section, not on axial section. On axial section, you are not seeing this because you are cutting the plane like this, and you are not seeing the heart. But in coronal section, I will be seeing one ventricle over here, and I will be seeing heart on that side. But this ventricle will not be very clear. Yes, on coronal section, not very clear. But yes, you will get a part of the lateral ventricle in coronal section, not the complete length in coronal section. Dr. Kavya, am I right or wrong?
Yes, sir.
You will see a very faint or a very small part of the lateral ventricle, because that lateral ventricle is cutted now in a slice. Now, without leaving this cutted small piece of lateral ventricle, if I will rotate my probe now without leaving, then I am now going from coronal section to transthalamic section. Without leaving, can I say that this is left or this is right? This way, Dr. Kavya?
Yes, sir.
Got it? This way only you can say whether you are right, dealing with right, or you are dealing with left ventricle. If you will search this answer on Mr. Google, even if you will try multiple books, I don't know whether this thing is written in any book or not. Dr. Kavya will tell me whether she has gone through Mr. Google, gone through the calendar and the Flesher, whether this thing is written there or not.
No, sir, it's not written anywhere. I have even taken the ICOG
anywhere
course
because
also.
Now see, time and again I'm saying you have to do ultrasound with your brain, not with your hands. Now I don't have horns on my head. I am having same brain as you are having, but somebody is using this brain and somebody's brain is unused. This is the thing. So very sorry to say this, but you have to put your neurons in work, then only you can say. So the moral of the answer is that you have to go to the coronal section. From coronal section, you will get a part of the lateral ventricle, and then see to the situs. By situs, you know what I mean.
Yes, sir.
The heart, which side is that? But don't leave this small lateral ventricle slice. It will not be a complete length. Then if you will rotate it, you will get a complete length. Once you know that this is left one, then right one is automatically done. Now, Dr. Kavya, which one is the lateral ventricle first? Right one or left one? Why I am having the third ventricle? Because I am having 1 and 2 second ventricle. Which one is first? Which one is second lateral ventricle? Right or left?
I have no idea.
Right. Right is ventricle number 1 and left is ventricle number 2. That is why I am having in mid a third ventricle, which is called as third ventricle. Now, in your reports, you don't need to mention why books are not writing, why this is not on Mr. Google, because nobody is writing that right ventricle is dilated. Have you seen any report, Dr. Kavya, that right ventricle is dilated?
Sir, in recently in one of the reports I had seen, sir, like that is when I wanted to find out, there was a
Are
constraint.
we often using that right ventricle or
No.
unilateral?
They are saying unilateral.
Unilateral.
Ventricle is
So
dilated.
mostly unilateral. So now if you want to precise whether by unilateral I mean right or left, the answer is already done. Now the point is unilateral will also do. Unilateral, ventriculomegaly, not on this, but now if you know the things, you know how to how to mark this as a right and left, that is very good. But for a beginner, if you are not able to take the coronal sections, then from coronal sections come back to the axial sections, even unilateral can do. Anything else?
No, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So this was all for today's section. See you soon in coming sessions. Maybe next week you will get an update. So stay connected with us. If you are seeing this through our YouTube, you will get a notification. If you are seeing it through the Facebook, you will get again intimation via our group. And if you are connected with us via the WhatsApp, you will get, of course, the intimation of our next class. Thank you very much.
Thank you.